Thanks,
Live
Chief.
now. I call the Aleppo Township Commissioners meeting of July 19th, 2021 to order. Pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
President Jones.
Present.
Vice President Williams.
Really here.
Commissioner,
You go.
Commissioner Dara.
Present.
Commissioner Richard.
Present.
Commissioner Haluka.
Present.
Solicitor Stone.
Present.
And Manager Patterson.
This meeting is recorded, will be uploaded to YouTube for viewing at any time from any place. Do I hear a motion to approve the July 12th workshop meeting minutes?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Chief?
All right, good evening, everyone. Okay, for the month of June, we had a total of 49 calls. 26 of those were EMS assists. We had one minor altercation between some employees over here at Amazon, a few alarms, barking dogs, stray animals, the normal kind of things, and a few welfare checks on some people over here in Masonic Village, just making sure everybody's okay. That's all, nothing major there. To address the most recent issue that happened over in the Swickley Heights Manor, I'll read a little brief statement here. I can't say a whole lot about the case. It's currently still under investigation. I don't typically comment on cases that are under investigation. I just say a couple brief things that occurred in the early morning around 4 a.m. on July 8th. A white male was seen walking through Swickley Heights Manor, unscrewing a few light bulbs and acting odd, okay, to say the least. To be clear, this was, to our knowledge, nothing has been reported along the lines of any type of home invasion. He did not attempt to enter anyone's house. He made no aggressive act towards anyone or towards anything. At current thing, we're only investigating a perhaps lording and prowling at night, and a very minor couple cases of criminal mischief, if you could call that, for unscrewing some light bulbs. We do have leads. We're following up on them. It's still an active case. After reviewing multiple images of video, it appears more to myself and to the officers that are investigating it that we're dealing with an individual that more likely was intoxicated, perhaps some type of mental health issue, but definitely had no ill intentions toward anyone or anyone's property there. Actually looked like he was reenacting video game style stuff. So having said all that, like I said, we are continuing the investigation. We take it seriously, obviously. This public safety is our primary concern. But at this point in time, again, there did not appear to be any overt act by this individual that would lead me to believe that he is any kind of harm to anyone whatsoever. Okay? But if anybody has information and you're viewing at home, it's on our Facebook page. We have an image of the individual. Please continue to call and we will follow up. Any questions from the board?
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it.
No, thanks, Chief.
No? Okay. So nothing in general at all then, right? The only thing I did want to add was the I-79 shutdown. Again, because it does directly affect Aleppo, although it's not within your jurisdiction, but that traffic probably caused quite the headache for the local residents. The next one, and I will be emailing it out, we'll be putting on our Facebook, I believe they're shutting it back down. Let me look at my calendar real quick here. It should be the weekend of August, the evening of the 13th to the morning of the 16th. Again, it'll be I-79 completely shut down with the detour going around just like it was the last time. We'll be reposting it, but just to let your citizens know. Okay? All right.
Any further questions for the chief?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Gwen, are we posting notification of the closures on our
We did
web?
for the last one, and we will for the next one also. We posted on the door and under latest news on our website.
Good. Emergency management.
Just as a matter of cleaning up and doing the after-action reports for the pandemic, I met with Eric and Tracy at Masonic
Mary Carolyn and I both went over and had lunch with them. What I was actually looking for were ways that we could have improved, ways that we could have done better. We didn't get that. In fact, Eric and Tracy both were kind of singing our praises. The only comment that they did make is that many of their needs were not met through the emergency management system. I had put in unmet needs requests for PPE, et cetera, and actually we met those needs using our own personal networks. I don't think to this day Masonic has received any PPE offerings from the county or the state, but they were all met. They were not without PPE for a day. Eric was thrilled with that. He was glad, you know, that the township was behind him, et cetera. I plan on meeting, it was supposed to be, I believe, next Tuesday, but it looks like that meeting was canceled and is going to be rescheduled with the HOA board from Swickley Heights Manor with the same object before I do an after-action report to send up to see what their feelings are. I would ask publicly if anybody that's watching this had unmet needs or something that we could have done better, or something that you want us to keep a hold of for the next emergency, that you would certainly let me know. I don't have a way to reach the rest of the residents outside of the Masonic and Swickley Heights Manor, except through this forum. So if there's any comments related to the pandemic or our management of the pandemic, I would certainly appreciate it if you just send me an email through the township site, and I'll be sure to get it. Thank you.
Any questions? Thank you very much, Judy. Public Works?
Thanks for that. Not a whole lot going on, a lot of grass cutting. We did seal up that catch basin on Merriman Road, the one that was leaking into Grimm's yard. Sealed it, asphalted it, fixed the yard above it. We had one large tree that broke and was laying across in the top of another tree on School Street. We got rid of that. Everything else is pretty much basic. Any questions for me? Oh, I'm sorry. We did meet with the guys doing the test boring on Weber Road. I had to move a couple of their bores because where they were planning on boring isn't where I was worried about. There were other areas I was more worried about, so I had to move a couple, which he agreed with. Dan from HRG agreed with that. So other than that, same old.
Anything you need from us?
Not that I can think of. Our dump truck is up right now getting the body put on it.
Good.
Hopefully. They had us bring it up there a couple weeks ago, but I haven't heard anything since, so I don't know how long that'll be.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Communications?
I don't think we have anything new. I'll ask Gwen. I think the last communication we received was actually the complaint about the house on Weber Road
That
that
was-
we've already explored.
The one that we talked
Yeah.
about last week.
Correct. But nothing new's coming this past.
No, I think we had one Amazon meeting. I think you were away,
Yeah.
and we had it. It was brief. It was just catching up on stuff. They had a surge of companies back at our site because of Amazon, what is it, Prime Day or something? So they had an increase in vans, and now they're back down to their normal van level, so.
Any previous complaints or concerns that haven't been addressed?
Amazon?
Mm-hmm.
I would say that they're all ongoing. It's always a continual reminder or checking in that they are going to continue the weekly cleanup, that they continue to talk to their drivers and their DSPs about speeding and, and garbage and things of that nature. And it's always ongoing. The agenda stays the same. We review everything and then we add our new business at the end, but we review the same agenda items over and over, which seems to need to be done because there is some turnover in their own management.
Sure.
So it's only, makes sense for us to do that in that way.
Any questions? Planning and zoning.
No report. The board acted on that subdivision last week to help the timing for the residents closing. And hopefully not in August, but I think in September, we're going to have another meeting with the planning commission about the zoning ordinance revision. We're still working through that.
Was there anything discussed at the workshop that needs to be passed tonight?
No, they actually voted at the workshop on that
Okay.
one subdivision plan.
Good. Tax collector treasurer.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for having me. You all should have received your monthly report, the tax collector and the treasurer report, ending balances. For the month of June, we ended up collecting $117,818.44 in total taxes collected. The 2 pages with the bar graphs just kind of compare again June 2021 to June of 2020, and then the year-to-date amount to the budgeted amount. So as you can see, we're doing pretty well for the first 6 months of the year. We've got 3 categories that are in the black as of right now, so we'll see how the rest of the year kind of takes place. As far as the ending account balances, just to kind of let you know, and this is the PNC operating account, and then the investment accounts through the Pliget funds, the state fund, the general investment, the reserve fund, and capital. When you add that all up, we are sitting with total monies on hand at $2,724,098.92. When you take out or subtract out the pledged funds and then the targeted funds, we end up having net operating funds of $1,645,110.82. And then I also have the 2 sewer bond and sewer capital account balances there as well, which are for debt and any repairs and things like that. So, any questions about any of that?
Well, it would appear that property tax and earned income tax are significantly potentially over the budget, which is a good thing.
Yeah. And we collected a lot of delinquent
Yeah.
things. People are catching up from all the home sales and whatever else has been going on. So,
And this is the month where I say, you know, the property tax is mostly collected at this point, so we won't be having these large income for the rest of the year. We'll be living off of this for the rest of the year.
No,
So-
we're already 13,000 over budget.
Right, so
good shape.
won't keep increasing at this rate.
Anything else we need to know?
That's it right now.
Anything peculiar that you saw?
Nope, nothing. Kind of standard business as usual right now. So,
Any questions for our treasurer?
thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do I hear a motion to approve the June bill list?
Motion to approve the June bill list in the amount of $34,879.69, to ratify June prepaid bills in the amount of $15,312.86, and to ratify June payroll transfers in the amount of $15,693.65.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Aleppo Township Authority.
2 things to report. The grinder at the 79 North pump station was damaged due to discharges from Masonic. That has now been addressed with Masonic deciding to install and be responsible for a catch basket upstream of getting into our system. Meanwhile, we've had to repair the grinder at that facility, but this should take care of it.
What type of material hurt the grinder?
Disposable diapers, flushable diapers.
Do it every time.
Had to ask.
Okay.
The other item is, there are privately owned water lines in the manor and in the industrial park that don't have meters, and we have slow pickup in finding leaks. So there's some exploration going on with, but probably taking those water lines into the ownership of the authority. Authority's already maintaining them and repairing the leaks as they occur. So, you have anything to add?
Yeah, the engineer, Dave Kirshner, and I are working together to present some options to the authority board with regard to the private lines and give them some analysis of what the cost might be and what the benefits and the what the pros and cons are for leaving the lines with private ownership or versus taking them over, making them part of the public system. Obviously, what we're going to talk to the authority board about is there are obviously costs associated with owning those lines. Currently, they're being maintained by the private owner, and so when there's a leak, while we repair it, they pay for that repair. So, you know, again, along with ownership goes maintenance and the cost of maintenance. And so that's one of the things that Dave Kirshner and I are going to explore with the authority board.
And what lines are these specifically? What lines are these?
There's a bunch. I don't know exactly how many, but there's a number of lines both in the industrial park and in the manor that are privately owned, that the authority never took over or never accepted as part of the public system.
In the manner, that confuses me.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking. That's very confusing.
How's that happen?
It is confusing, and it's confusing to...
So these are lines from the street to the property? Crossing common ground, or?
Yeah, again, my lack of engineering expertise prevents me from speaking authoritatively on this, but as I understand it, along with the private lateral, the private water lateral,
Yes.
the service line that runs up to the house,
Yes.
between that and the main, which is the public system, there is also a small 2-inch private line that runs in between the main and the lateral. And
That's on common Swickley Heights Manor ground. That's why I'm confused, is that the
Yes.
homeowner doesn't own the ground under which those pipes transverse. That's why I'm looking at you funny.
No, you can look at me funny because it's okay. I think Dave Kirshner and I are looking at each other like, you know, we don't understand it either.
Is that cross line because they have difficulty maintaining the pressure head?
Again, I don't understand the engineering of it. The problem, though, is that increasingly these lines are getting old. They haven't been particularly well maintained, and they are breaking, and we have
They're not
leaks.
metered.
And they're not metered. So when that water escapes,
Yeah.
we aren't recovering that as part of our revenue at the authority. We're not charging for it. So we're losing that. And legally, I'm really not sure who, and that's the question, who owns that small section of private line that seems to keep breaking? Does that belong to the homeowners association?
Where is it located in relationship to the house?
Well, I believe I think it's away from the house, but before you hit the main.
Yeah, see, we don't own that property. That's why I'm looking at you funny. That's common.
So my guess is, according...
That would be the HOA collectively that would.
Well, I wish it was that simple, but Dave and I have gone back, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to reconstruct what the different agreements were from the time that the developer turned the development over, which I've looked at, but there have been amendments since.
Yes.
And so we're also trying to verify with the homeowners association that they don't have some agreement with the authority that would state specifically who owns that section of the line. So far, we haven't found anything that says the line belongs to the public system or to the private property owner. And so right now, it's kind of in a no man's land legally. And I'm trying to figure out what happens if it's not specifically called out in an agreement by default, who gets it. And so in contrast to the 79 industrial park, I mean, that's a far more complicated problem or project than what's in the industrial
Right.
park. The
It's a single
industrial
owner.
park is fairly straightforward. It's either, yeah, we want to own those lines and we'll pay for it, the cost of maintenance, or you do it, we don't want to be bothered with it. It's not that unusual for a township not, or an authority not to take over the lines of a development after it's over, after the project's complete. Sometimes, and there are reasons, I'd say most nowadays, this goes back now 1972 or 73, and my guess is same thing happened over at Masonic. I think what happened was the feeling on the part of the authority in the township was, hey, you know, we have the right under the agreement to take over the lines anytime we want to. That's our option. But for the time being, we'd rather have you take care of them and you pay for it than have that become our cost and our expense. So I think the thinking or the rationale back then was let the private developer own their system. And it's worked out really well, for example, at Masonic. But with the manor and with the industrial park, it's a little
Well, how is the water
cumbersome.
being billed?
Metered.
I thought you said it wasn't metered.
No, it's metered, but not at the
Okay.
connection point.
Gwen, even though it's not our direct responsibility, would you contact Dave and ask him when appropriate to just give us a summation?
And again, Dave and I are going to be making a presentation to the authority board. We're working on an executive summary type document
Good.
that for the board.
I think because it came up, we'd like to know too.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think especially in the industrial park, I mean, that would
Right.
be, and I will say that I've broached the subject with Al Core, who is the owner's representative for the industrial park. And he, again, without making any commitments on either side, I just presented it to him as if this were to come up, how would you feel about turning those lines over? Or would you, what would be your preference? And so he said he would talk to his ownership group and get back to us. And so we're kind of working this through.
Good.
I hope that helps.
I think the executive summary would be nice. And it's good that we finally recognize the situation.
I think that's the point. I think it's kind of come to a head now with all the leaks and the system being as old as it is.
Well, there were various transfers of ownerships in the manor, and I suspect in the industrial park 40 years ago that just kind of happened, or didn't happen.
Or didn't happen.
Any other questions tonight? So we'll get at least the executive summary so we understand it too. Anything else, Dan?
That's it.
Quaker Valley Ambulance Authority? Wow.
Good evening, everyone. I'm here to talk about the resolution
Oh,
that...
please, would you introduce yourself
Sorry. My name's Mary Carolyn Nash,
and you live at?
101 Swickley Heights Drive.
Thank you.
Sure. I'm here to talk about the resolution that you would have received and probably have a copy of. Quaker Valley Ambulance began in 1974, and they had articles of incorporation were filed on December 23rd, 1974. The term of existence of the authority expires on December 23, 2024. So it's for a 50-year term. So I'm here as one of the board of directors of the Quaker Valley Ambulance Authority to request that its incorporating municipalities consider an extension of this term so that Quaker Valley Ambulance Authority can continue. And the main reason for the request is that the Pennsylvania Municipal Authorities Act requires that each municipal authority, like the sewer, from what I'm told, EMS, water, whatever, to be reauthorized every 50 years. The resolution would be an affirmation that Aleppo wants to continue to have Quaker Valley Ambulance Authority remain as its designated EMS service and wants to remain as a participating Quaker Valley Ambulance Authority municipality. The resolution, though, has no direct financial impact or anything on Aleppo, simply extends Quaker Valley's term of existence. And even though it's not until we expire until December 23, 2024, they would really like to have it all adopted and anything that needs to be worked out and whatever done so that they can get this all in early to where it needs to go, to the Pennsylvania Department of State. So that's what I wanted to, see if anyone had any questions or anything I could answer on that.
Have you reviewed the resolution?
I have not.
So
It's in your packet.
it says that August for this resolution is fine.
I'm
We
sorry.
can wait until August,
Oh, yes, oh, yes.
so you'll have a month to review.
Mhm.
I mean, it seems pretty straightforward.
Okay, all right, and just another thing with the ambulance service. With COVID, there has been a decrease in call volume, so there's a decrease, of course, in expenses as well as what we take in and whatever. But hopefully that's leveled off now and it'll start going back up again.
Any questions before? Thank you.
Thanks.
We'll address it.
Thanks.
Quaker Valley Cog?
Your report.
So this came in this afternoon, it wasn't in your packet, but the monthly report from the new executive director is in your packet. And it just is, we used to get monthly reports before and then we had a little gap when the new director was learning. So it talks about some of the grant awards that other communities have gotten. Talks about our refuse and recycling contract that final bids are due and will be read aloud on July 22nd at 11 a.m. And I'll be there for the bid opening to find out who wins. The glass dumpster was a success. We don't have tonnage report yet for how much was collected on our site, but it was a success. And potential Quaker Valley or proposed Quaker Valley High School site tour. We were offered a date to go tour the site, and a couple of us intended to go. I ended up having to reschedule, so they will be rescheduling another date that is to be determined. So I hope to go on the next round. So if anybody else is interested, I'll keep you informed when it's rescheduled, when our next turn is.
Were there any significant changes to the services in the RFP for the waste?
Not significant. It solidifies the fact that glass won't be collected. It restructured it a little bit so that it wasn't each municipality. We kind of structured the trash collection bid as a universal bid for all the communities versus each community having their own sets of rules, and we hope that that would bring in a better kind of bulk prices. But there was some discussion about automated collection, but that was not selected at this point to be. That will probably on the next contract go around. Some of the difficulty is that the communities in our COG are different. So that would work very easily in Aleppo because we have driveways and areas to do the truck, whereas some of the other communities are Bellevue and Avalon with street parking and things like that, and it makes the manual or the automated collection a little more difficult. So we talked about it, and it'll probably be talked about again at the next round. But this will be for another 5-year contract for.
Yeah, I've noticed that where people have appropriate containers, they're using kind of a hybrid system. The workers are still there, but the claw is coming out and dumping. So
I've always wanted to run one of those as a second career. I've always wanted the joystick guy.
Yeah.
And then, could you ask what the tonnage or poundage of glass that was collected was, where it went, and what value, please? When I was in New England, there are a lot of bottle deposits that work incredibly well. Okay. Bring a bottle home, you get a nickel when you take it back.
Mhm.
And
I've heard of that before.
I remember those days.
Did that when I was a kid.
Yeah,
That's what
exactly.
That's what I'm saying.
We
I've
used
heard
to-
of that one
We used
before.
to save them up.
well, people would.
I used to steal them from other
Pick 'em up
people's
and take 'em
houses so I
home.
could get the nickel. It was actually 3 cents.
When you and I chatted a month ago about the visits to the site of the new high school, and I recommended that at that time, because I wanted to go, but I can't. that the engineer or the gentleman who's reviewing the agreement between the three municipalities, that will, one way or another, have to serve the site, should be in one of those tours.
And Ben and I both intend, our engineer who would consult with ASO on that thing, intended to go to that one. We both had, for different reasons, had to reschedule attending that tour, so we intend to go back on the next round.
It's
and
on your
take the tour.
schedule.
Not yet, but I'll go when the date is announced. I intend to go again, or for the first time.
Anything else regarding the COG? Mr. Solicitor.
Just one matter, this is something that we dealt with months ago, toward the end of last year, I believe. And maybe it was even pre-COVID, but as you recall, I had to do some thinking myself, but as you recall, there was a movement by the Leetsdale Municipal Authority to take on Sewickley customers and Sewickley to agree to go out of the sewage business.
Yeah.
And they were, Leetsdale Municipal Authority was approaching various municipalities and asking if they would approve a amendment to their 537 plan, which would allow them to take on Sewickley and Sewickley customers. And that was being led by the engineer at the Leetsdale Municipal Authority, who's Dan Slagle. And Dan was pushing pretty hard at the time because he was looking for some grant money that would be associated with that project. And then after Dan was pressed a couple of times to set up meetings with the municipalities and explain his numbers and explain his cost estimates for this project, because they had to expand their own facility, he started meeting with different municipalities individually, and then, as I recall, it just sort of ended because DEP at that point wasn't ready to approve, or the municipalities weren't ready to approve, but it went silent for a long time.
The numbers didn't work.
The numbers didn't work. And as I recall, we even had our engineer do a drill down on the numbers, and he raised a number of his questions. I know the engineers from other customers did their analysis, and everybody, well, not everybody, but most of the municipal engineers were doubtful or skeptical of the numbers. So I was informed just last week, maybe this week, oh no, last week, that this project was being resurrected to some degree by Sewickley, and that Jeff Neff had been asking again whether his customers how they would respond to having their sewage delivered to Leetsdale Municipal Authority instead of the Sewickley, whatever it's called, Sewickley Sewage Authority. So I'm just raising it because you may be getting, again, you may be receiving more information from Jeff Neff and from Sewickley about the status of that project.
Actually, Sewickley doesn't have a sewer authority. The treatment plant.
Oh, it's boroughs. It's
owned
the
by
boroughs.
borough.
Okay, right.
They have
That's
a
right.
water authority.
Harlan, just
Which I always thought was part of the problem.
to keep you abreast, when we met with Sewickley on some other issues, as Dan stated, we said it's very difficult. We want the investigation to go forward, but if one engineer says 2 million and the other says 10, it's a little difficult to commit, or as Dan put it, you're asking me to write a blank check. So we had even offered, again, if you're in the game, we had offered to contribute a certain amount of money, I think it was $10,000 or whatever, to take the specifications to a bid level so that we could have a reasonably firm bid, because without specifications, which are now different because Edgeworth has made certain conclusions.
Yeah.
So I think we were just looking for a firm number understanding that Slagle couldn't give a firm number given his budget, but we were willing to participate potentially with all the other municipalities, put up 10 grand apiece to refine it. So
Has
that-
Edgeworth changed his mind and said that Swickley can use their line to get to Leedsdale?
They want to get pipe.
I know they wanted.
They wanted
That's
a
what
pipe
killed it
that-
the last time.
Right.
They want a pipe that's dedicated just to the Sewickley customers, so that they won't be using Edgeworth's existing conveyance system.
And I think refusal to do that is a non-starter, so
I
my
don't-
assumption is that'll be built into the specs.
I'm assuming, and that it remains the case, that Edgeworth still refuses to allow its conveyance system to be used and is requiring a dedicated line just for that purpose. But I can't say that
Right.
I know the answer. But my assumption is, I was not told that anything has changed in that regard.
Well, if you have to build the new line to get there, all of Schlagel's numbers about what people are gonna save are wishful thinking.
I'm
We will
assuming
look
it's
forward,
I'm assuming project's been resurrected, but it's not new number, there's not a, you haven't heard if he's proposing anything new for us to review.
Again,
Preliminary.
my recollection is this, that there was a point at which, initially, let's put it this way, initially Sewickley said they wanted out, and they wanted to turn it over to Leedsdale Municipal Authority. Then, because of the cost associated with upgrading their existing plant, the borough's plant, to meet DEP specifications and requirements, because they're currently out of compliance with DEP. So the cost, so they thought, okay, rather than spend all this money to upgrade our system, we'll just turn it over.
They want it out of the storage
They want it
business.
out of the business. Then, as I recall, at some point during this process, they hired Lennon Smith Solar Ray as an outside consultant to advise them on the costs and on what would have to be done to bring them into compliance. And Lennon Solar Ray came back with a report, which I think I saw, that said, it's not as bad as you think, and we actually think you might benefit from hanging on to your system. And so I think to that, when that came out, and they started asking Sewickley to rethink the idea based on their analysis, at the same time, that's when Edgeworth was saying, hey, you're not going to be able to use our line. And so when all that sort of converged, that's when I think the project sort of went down.
Just died.
Now, my hunch is, or my sense is, that politically, that this borough, Sewickley Borough, is kind of rejecting Lennon Solar Ray's analysis and thinking maybe it is a good idea to get out of the system again, or get out of the business again. And so I think it's coming back. I'm not aware that there have been any changes or modifications to the project, however. I just think it's being resurrected.
We've been trying to clarify and resolve with Swickley the Osborne interchange financing issues for a long time. And we put proposals to them, we don't hear from them. Get no responses, and it drags on and on and on. There's nothing about how they've dealt with us that makes me think that we'd ever find ourselves in a situation where the resolution is to have Sewickley go to Leedsdale. I don't think they're capable of figuring out how to do that.
we'll look forward to new information.
Dan is eagerly awaiting.
All right. Anything else, Mr. Solicitor?
No, that's all I have
Meeting and
unless
said they
anybody has
asked
any
it, but that's
questions.
what they asked it.
Yeah.
None.
Yeah, I think we'll be meeting with Sewickley pretty soon. They're kind of in flux. Unfinished business?
He's much kinder than you. Well, he's
Unfinished.
accurate, but
Well, fill me in, the presentation on coal tar,
Yeah,
the resolution included cigarette smoke.
Boy, that was a broad net.
So we're not interested in that. You said there's a resolution.
yeah, so I represent three municipalities that got the same presentation as you did. Hampton, well, I don't represent Hampton, but I know Hampton, Shaler, and Glen Osborne all got the same presentation. And beginning with Hampton, and then Shaler, and then I did the resolution for Glen Osborne, they all rejected the idea of passing an ordinance.
It didn't seem to match up with,
It didn't.
okay.
So they all rejected her proposed ordinance. What was her name? Mandy Steele. But they were sympathetic with the cause. And so they prepared, and I helped them prepare a resolution, which instead of saying, the ordinance, if you do this, you're gonna be in violation, and we're gonna bring, lawsuits against you or
It
citations
also
against you.
covers any
It was
pollutant in
so
the world.
broad,
Yeah.
right. And so this resolution narrows the scope, but it also, because it's a resolution, it's more, the tone of it is more like, we would ask you not to use coal tar in your product, or, please keep this in mind, let's be sensitive to this, and we would support an effort ultimately, if the science required it, to later perhaps do an ordinance.
I thought the focus was driveway sealing and,
It is,
well,
clearly.
I don't know what your experience, I talked to the person that seals the driveways in the manor and the ridge. They haven't used coal tar for 20 years.
That's what
I mean, it is
most
a significantly known carcinogen.
Yeah, most municipalities, the ones that I'm talking about, did get some, especially Hampton, did get outside technical research and came to the same conclusion, which is, the amount of this that's in being used, at least through any public agency, is slim to none.
Well, I don't think the issue is anybody disagreed that using it would be an issue, and we all sat here and nodded through the presentation, but then when we got the ordinance or the resolution, it threw a really wide net over a whole bunch of things that were never mentioned in the presentation.
So my
Harlan
suggestion-
sent out a resolution this afternoon that he sent to me,
Right.
I did not circulate it yet. So
Okay.
this is a
Okay.
revised resolution that,
Is it almost
So narrow.
specific to driveways?
No,
Yes.
the
Yes.
proposed resolution is specific to PAHs. Doesn't limit it to any.
Doesn't even limit it to coal tar, that was
But
the
he-
issue.
But my
He sent another one.
resolution does.
I'll send it out after.
My
the meeting.
resolution has narrowed that scope.
Yeah, I'd feel better about that.
And so the only thing I would say is, again, not tonight, but read over the resolution, think about whether you want to support the effort at all, whether you think it's something that needs to be done or that you want to do. And if you decide you want to at least voice your support for something that would be, they call it environmental best practices, then, I think that resolution would do that. On the other hand, if you decide it's a problem, it's a solution without a problem, you might want to do nothing.
Amy, did you talk to your contractor?
I missed the opportunity to talk to him face to face because I was sidetracked. But I was able to ask about the quotes. So we were having 2 parking lots done, and I said, hey, I asked the secretary, can you make sure that it's not coal tar? Just get clarification on the quote. He said, absolutely not. It's not coal tar. You have animals and children in the vicinity, and they haven't used it. So it wasn't even on our quote without me asking.
Okay.
So just as a.
Then the other one I missed was the property complaint. When?
Oh, Weber Road?
Yeah.
Jeff was here, and there was a conversation about the property complaint that all the commissioners got, and Jeff is going to be looking into it to see, to investigate the property from different angles and see what citations are warranted.
Was the homeowner that filed the complaint notified?
The
The
person who
homeowner
filed the complaint
was
was
here.
Was
at
here.
the meeting.
Was
Oh,
present.
okay.
Made the presentation.
Good. New business? Citizen participation. Is there anybody actively online?
Counter's not working too well, but I didn't see too many when I was looking at
So
that.
nobody asking questions?
They would be asking them of me,
Okay,
and I don't have that set up anymore.
all right. No executive session is required?
Before you adjourn, I assume that's coming next.
Pretty quick.
Gwen, you have listed on here a motion to approve the subdivision plan. Was that done at the workshop?
It was.
Yes, it
Okay,
was.
so it's off. Okay, it's done.
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Any other new business? Meeting adjourned.
Before everybody runs away, I'd like to thank everybody for the support that's been.
Wait. Are we shut down?